Good afternoon. Already we have finished talking about the first phase of national movement, that is with the first war of Indian independence and the growth of nationalism. Then the second phase of national movement we talked in the previous class, that is from 1885 to till 1915. So 1885 to 1915, the incidents if you see, one is the group of early nationalists, then the group of assertive nationalists, then an incident called partition of Bengal. Then we are having one more political party which was, established in 1906. That was, formation of Muslim League. That is All India Muslim League. So like this, the Indian national movement that was started from 1857 to 1915. We call it as in the form of two phase. Okay, two phase of national movement. That is from 1857 to 1885. One phase of national movement. 1885 to 1915, we have got a second phase of national movement. So already we have discussed. So I don't want to go back again regarding the previous classes. Now we will go with the last, that is the third phase of national movement in India. That is from 1915 to 1947. Okay, so this third phase of national movement in India, so we will be talking in two sessions. One session we will divide it with the 1915 to 1934. So that we call it as a national movement and Mahatma Gandhi. Then from 1934 to 1947, we call it as towards independence. Okay, so now we will get into the seventh chapter. So that is a national movement and Mahatma Gandhi. So from 1915 to 34. So in this chapter, very important topics and all we will be discussing, or we will be talking about very important, the incidents, the concepts. Okay, so very important lesson. This, which you should be knowing about how the Indian national movement and the role of Mahatma Gandhi. So from 1915 to 1947. So in this lesson, some of the incidents, some of the these things, some of the role of Gandhiji. So all these things we are going to see. In this particular chapter. So as you all know, when Gandhiji started the national movement, so his national movement was under three movements. So one is non-cooperation movement, and another one is civil disobedience movement, and the last one is Quit India movement. So like this, with three different movements, so he launched the Indian national movement. So in this lesson, we will be talking about the non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement. And towards independence, we will be talking about the Quit India movement of Gandhiji. So before I just start with the important topic of the lesson, so that is, circumstances leading to, non-cooperation movement. Okay, circumstances in the sense nothing but causes leading to the non-cooperation movement. Just I want to take up the introduction to the lesson. So when I take up the introduction to the lesson, so 1915 onwards, the leader of India was, that is, Gandhiji. Okay, so this is the one of the most important thing which you should know. Okay, so before 1915, our Indian national movement was not under the one single leader. It was under the leadership of different, personalities. But from 1915 onwards, in India, the national movement, the leadership was done by a one. Okay, we can call it as a monopoly. Okay, one single person, that is the leader of India. That was Gandhiji. Okay. The second thing is the new pace in Indian national struggle. Okay. Till 1915, the pace of Indian national struggle was constitutional method, one side revolutionary method, one side national education, one side self-government, total independence. So like this, the methods of the national struggle was something different. Okay. It was varying from one leader to another leader. But from 1915 onwards, the new pace, the new method was implemented in the Indian national movement. or Indian national struggle. So in that, first and foremost, the weapon of Gandhiji, that was Satyagraha. Okay, force born from truth and non-violence, path of ahimsa. That's Satyagraha. Okay, Satyagraha. Okay, truth by force we call it. Okay, let us not send British by a revolutionary method, or let us not, make a British people through the revolutionary method out of, let us not throw out of India. Instead, force them by truth and non-violence. Because by force they have taken India. Let us also force them to, leave India. That is the concept of Satyagraha which Gandhiji introduced for the first time in the Indian national movement. And this Satyagraha concept first, Gandhiji introduced in South Africa. Okay, because Gandhiji's first national movement and the experiment of Satyagraha was first he done it in the South Africa. After that, he handed over to the Nelson Mandela, and in 1915 he came to India and he started the Satyagraha concept in India. Okay, that is the one. Then next, Swadeshi. As usual, Swadeshi was an old method, but Gandhiji also believed in the, Swadeshi. Then very important is the national movement should have value-based politics. Okay, value. It should not have a meaningful. Okay, value-based politics like the first one, courage. Okay, so every Indian, including common people, should have an courage and they should fight against the British. And patience. Whatever the reaction we may get it from the British, but our quality of patience should be there. Then suffering. Okay, suffering. If you want to get an independence, the suffering is common. You need to suffer. Then penance. Don't put suffering on others. Instead, one's own suffering. That includes, fasting. So this should have the Indian national struggle. Courage, patience, suffering, penance, and fast. And moreover, Gandhiji wanted mass movement. Not only the educated leaders, no only the INC leaders, no only the high class people, middle class, no. All the common people in India of different caste and creed should be take part in the Indian national movement. Okay, when we are having a mass movement or when we are having a participation of the entire, nation, so Gandhiji felt that mass movement is very important. So these are the four methods which Gandhiji used from 1915 onwards in the Indian national movement. So like this, 1915, Gandhiji slowly entered the Indian national movement. So he was waiting for an movement to launch the national movement in India. So that he got it in 1920 to launch a movement called non-cooperation movement. So non-cooperation movement, we will be talking in the next class. So what is non-cooperation movement, when it was launched, all that things. So before that, what circumstances made Gandhiji to launch this non-cooperation movement? Okay, there are three circumstances. One is the Rawat Act. One more, very famously, you all know it, that is Jallianwala Bagh tragedy. The third one is Khilafat movement. So in today's class, I will take about Rowlatt Act and Jallianwala Bagh tragedy. First, we will talk about the first circumstances, so that is Rowlatt Act. Okay, so Rowlatt Act. So it was introduced by the British in March 1919. Okay, in 1919, British government introduced an act called Rowlatt Act. Okay, what does this act say? What speciality in this act, if you see, the act says to imprison any person for a maximum period of 2 years. Okay, any person in India, imprison them for the maximum period of 2 years without trial. Without trial in the sense without reason. Who was suspected of doing terror in British Raj. Yeah, British Raj in the sense British government. Okay, if you see anywhere in India, any Indians, if they are doing a terror, if it is suspected they are going to do the terror or something, they are going against the British government, if you see, such person will be arrested without inquiring, without asking them anything. the person will be imprisoned for 2 years. Okay. Why this, Rowlatt Act was introduced means in order to avoid the public gathering, okay, gathering of people, okay, that introduced. No gathering of more than 20 in public. So if you gather there more than 20, that means you are doing or you are suspecting some terror activities on a British government. For that, in order to avoid the mob or in order to avoid the crowd, the public crowd gathering, so British people introduced this act, to which the Indians started to protest, especially the people of Amritsar. Okay, and Indians called this particular Rowlatt Act as a Black Act. Why they called it as a Black Act? If you see, arrest without a reason. You are arresting a person without a reason, no reason. They are just gathered there. More than 20 they have gathered. So you just arrest. It can be a public function. It can be some, occasional gathering, whatever it may be. But there is no reason, but you arrest them. And search without warrant. And you look for people wherever they are there without a warrant. Because without a warrant, a person cannot be arrested. Okay, first we have to issue a warrant, then we have to arrest a person. But here, British people did search without a warrant on the people. Then next, imprison them without trial. What mistake they have committed? Okay, whether they have really committed a mistake against the British government or not, without inquiring that, you just give 2 years of imprisonment. Lot of suffering to the people. This act, when it was introduced, so Gandhiji got angry towards the British and he began the protest against the British government. That protest he began under the first national movement, that is non-cooperation. Okay, and this Rowlatt Act, it introduced revolutionary methods in India. So many places in India started protesting against the Rowlatt Act. So in that one incident, that is Jallianwala Bagh tragedy. So the people of Jallianwala Bagh, so they protested against the Rowlatt Act. So how they protested, what has happened to the Jallianwala Bagh, how the Jallianwala Bagh becomes one of the most important incident of the national movement. So we will see it. So that's about the Rowlatt Act which we are having it. So it's very important. Okay, Rowlatt Act is very important. So you just go through it. 2 marks questions will be coming here. Then next class I will take about Jallianwala Bagh tragedy and the Khilafat movement. I will take it up in the next class. So you will come to know more about how this Rowlatt Act introduced by a British government becomes the one of the reason for the non-cooperation movement. Then we will talk Jallianwala Bagh tragedy and Khilafat movement. One movement we will start. Then we will go with the non-cooperation movement and its programs. Then after non-cooperation movement, some more incidents takes up in India. So like that till 1934, what all the changes had taken place in the Indian national movement. So that we will go and see in the next class. So next class, so I will go with the Jallianwala Bagh tragedy, one of the most important incident in the Indian national Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Or okay, so that is one of the very important incident in the Indian national movement. Then we will go with the Khilafat movement. So till here you go through it, and please today itself you have to write this. You have to make a note of this. You have to write it in the running notes. So don't keep it for pending. So next time, soon after the completion of the notes, suppose if today I completed this particular lesson, one lesson if I complete, by today evening I should get the notes. Okay, suppose if you are seeing a class after 6 p.m. or something like that, so before 10 o'clock you go to bed, I want the notes as to be sent. So that's the reason I'm telling. So every day, whatever the class is taken, that class notes, please that day itself you have to write it. Okay, thank you.